The Galactic Assembly Hall on Kepler 442b buzzed with unprecedented tension. Representatives from across the known galaxy had gathered for an emergency session. Their various forms of communication, telepathic waves, harmonic frequencies, and bioluminescent patterns, creating a symphony of confusion and fear. Ambassador Zethkar of the Ethereal Collective floated before the assembled delegates, his translucent form shimmering with nervous energy. Beside him stood Commander Vexteth of the Krillian Empire, her cybernetic enhancements clicking rhythmically as she processed the impossible data streaming across her neural interface. Honored representatives, Zethkar began, his voice carrying the weight of cosmic significance. We have discovered something that challenges everything we know about divine order in the universe. The hall fell silent, even the perpetually humming hive mind of Zentari ceased their collective murmur. 3 solar rotations ago, our long-range scouts detected a civilization in the Outer Rim Sector 7. System Sol 3. They call themselves humans, and they have achieved faster-than-light travel. Zethkar paused, letting the implications sink in. Without gods, the assembly erupted. Delegate Morden of the Crystal Hierarchies shattered 2 of his appendages in shock. The flame speakers began chanting protective mantras, their forms flickering with divine fire. Impossible. Boomed High Priest Kar, Thul of the Void Walkers. No species achieves stellar travel without divine guidance. The mathematical impossibility. Alone. That's what we thought, interrupted Commander Vexteth, her mechanical voice cutting through the chaos. But our analysis is conclusive. These humans possess technology that rivals our own, philosophy that spans millennia, and art. That ... She paused, her optical sensors dimming. Art that captures divine beauty without ever having seen a god. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the lone human representative, captured during a routine scientific survey, sat quietly in the center of the chamber. Her calm demeanor unnerved the assembled delegates more than any show of force could have. She seemed genuinely curious about their distress, taking notes on a primitive paper pad. Dr. Vasquez, Zethkar addressed her directly. How do your people make moral decisions without celestial commandments? Elena looked up, adjusting her glasses. We debate them. We test different approaches and see what works best for society. We make mistakes, learn from them, and try again. She smiled. It's not perfect, but it's ours. The silence that followed was deafening. The concept of self-determined morality was as foreign to these species as breathing underwater would be to humans. There's more, Zethkar continued, his form flickering with what could only be described as terror. Our historical analysis suggests this isn't humanity's first encounter with divine beings. They have a terrifying pattern of what they do when gods try to rule them. What? Pattern? Whispered Delegate Isara of the Serpent Worlds, her scales shifting to camouflage patterns instinctively. They make them irrelevant. The Assembly Hall's central holographic display materialized, showing Earth's timeline stretching back thousands of years. Dr. Vasquez watched with academic interest as her species' history unfolded before an audience of terrified alien delegates. The first documented case, Zethkar explained, manipulating the hologram to show ancient Greece, occurred approximately 2,500 Earth years ago. A group of beings calling themselves the Olympians attempted to establish divine rule over humanity. The display showed magnificent temples, elaborate rituals, and humans prostrating themselves before god-like figures. Several delegates relaxed slightly. This looked familiar, proper even. Initially, the pattern seemed normal, continued Zethkar. Humans built temples, offered sacrifices, created art celebrating their gods. But then, the hologram shifted, showing the same humans questioning, debating, creating new philosophical schools. They began to think. Commander Vextoth stepped forward, her mechanical limbs whirring. The Olympians didn't disappear through conquest or rejection. They became stories, inspiration for human art and literature. The humans simply outgrew them. But surely, interjected High Priest Carthol, when faced with divine power, they would submit? Dr. Vasquez cleared her throat. Actually, we have extensive records of humans questioning divine authority throughout history. When the medieval period brought what you might call the celestial hierarchy, beings of immense power who tried to establish absolute divine order, humans created competing religious systems, developed science, and eventually, many embraced empirical observation over faith. The hologram showed medieval scholars, Renaissance scientists, and Enlightenment philosophers. Each image drove the assembled delegates deeper into horror. The pattern accelerated, Sethkar continued. In 1947, beings your records call the Star-Touched visited Earth, expecting to be worshipped as sky gods. They possessed technology beyond human comprehension, anti-gravity, energy manipulation, dimensional folding. What happened? Asked Delegate Morton, his crystal form resonating with dread. The humans captured their technology, Vextoth replied flatly. Within decades, they had reverse-engineered it, improved upon it, and used it to build their own space program. The Star-Touched retreated in confusion. Elena nodded. Roswell. Though most humans think it was a weather balloon. The real technology was classified and formed the basis for our quantum propulsion systems. You improved upon divine technology? Isara's scales had turned a pale yellow with fear. We improved upon technology, Elena corrected gently. We don't really distinguish between divine and non-divine when it comes to understanding how things work. If it exists, it can be studied, understood, and probably improved. The hologram shifted to show recent human history, space exploration, genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. Each advancement had been built upon fragments of divine knowledge, transformed by human ingenuity into something their original divine sources couldn't recognize. The most recent incident, Sethkar said, his voice barely above a whisper, occurred just 1 month ago. The Harmony Singers beings, of pure cosmic benevolence, attempted to make contact with Earth, offering spiritual guidance and universal peace, and prompted the assembled delegates. The humans asked if they could study the Harmony Singers' dimensional folding techniques. When the singers explained these were divine gifts beyond mortal understanding, the humans responded. Zethkar's form flickered with trauma. They responded, everything's beyond understanding until you figure it out. Want to collaborate on some experiments? The assembly hall fell into stunned silence. The concept of collaboration with divinity, rather than worship, was so alien that several delegates began emergency meditation cycles to prevent system crashes. Dear gods, whispered Carthul, they want to understand us. Asterisk, the Divine Council convened an emergency session aboard the crystalline world ship Eternal Harmony, hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Representatives of the galaxies, most powerful divine beings, had gathered to address what they now called the human problem. Eon the Timeless materialized in the center of the chamber, his form a constantly shifting amalgamation of past, present, and future. He had ruled over 17 different species, brought cosmic order to entire galactic sectors, and never once encountered a civilization that didn't immediately recognize his divinity. The situation is worse than we thought, reported Zethkar, his ethereal form trembling. I've completed my cultural analysis of Earth. Not only do humans lack gods, they have systematically deconstructed every divine being they've encountered. Deconstructed? Asked Meridian of the Void Depths, her voice echoing from dimensions beyond normal spacetime. They study them, they learn from them, they improve upon them, Then they ... Zethkar's form flickered. They make them obsolete. Eons? Temporal distortions intensified. Impossible. I have witnessed the birth and death of stars. I have guided civilizations through cosmic epochs. No mortal species has ever, with respect, Eternal One, interrupted Commander Vextuth. No mortal species has ever been human. The Council watched the holographic display showing Earth's surface. In laboratories around the world, human scientists were working on projects that would have been considered divine magic by any other species manipulating matter at the quantum level, creating artificial consciousness, bending spacetime for faster-than-light travel. They're not trying to replace gods, Vextuth continued. They're trying to become gods, and they're succeeding. Dr. Sarah-chan, working late in her laboratory at CERN, had no idea her research was being observed by beings who considered themselves divine. She was focused on her latest breakthrough in temporal mechanics, building upon theoretical frameworks that had been inspired by humanity's various encounters with time-manipulating entities. I will test them myself, Eon declared, his form solidifying into something resembling classical human depictions of divine beings. I will demonstrate true cosmic power, and they will submit as all mortals must. The Council tried to dissuade him, but Eon's pride was wounded. He had never failed to inspire awe and worship. These humans would be no different, he materialized. In Dr. Chun's laboratory at 3:47 a.m., his presence distorting time and space around him. Equipment hummed with otherworldly energy as reality bent to accommodate his divine essence. Asterisk. Sarah looked up from her calculations, blinked twice, and reached for her emergency response kit. Fascinating. A consciousness that exists outside normal temporal flow. We've been theorizing about entities like you for decades. Eon was taken. Aback. No fear, no worship, no prostration. Just ... Scientific curiosity. Mortal, he began, his voice carrying the weight of eons. I am Eon the Timeless, master of the cosmic clock, shepherd of... Sorry to interrupt, Sarah said, pulling out a handheld scanner. But would you mind if we ran some tests? The temporal distortion field around you is unlike anything we've ever recorded. The applications for faster-than-light communication alone could revolutionize. I am not a subject for study. Eon's form blazed with divine fury. I am a god. Sarah paused, considering this. Okay, but you're still operating under physical laws, even if they're more advanced than what we currently understand. Everything follows rules, even divine power. We just need to figure out what those rules are. For the first time in his eternal existence, Eon felt something he'd never experienced before. The creeping certainty that he was about to be understood, categorized, and improved upon. Eon's frustration grew with each passing day. What should have been a simple demonstration of divine superiority had turned into the most unsettling experience of his cosmic existence. Dr. Sarah Chun treated him not as a god to be worshipped, but as a fascinating puzzle to be solved. The temporal distortion patterns suggest a consciousness that exists in multiple time streams simultaneously, Sarah explained to her hastily assembled research team. If we can understand the mechanism, we might be able to develop technology that allows limited temporal manipulation. The team physicists, engineers, and theorists from around the world had gathered with unprecedented enthusiasm. To them, Eon wasn't a divine being to be feared or worshipped. He was the greatest scientific discovery in human history. The entity appears to process information from past and future simultaneously, Dr. Raj Patel observed, studying the readings from their instruments. The quantum implications alone could revolutionize our understanding of causality. Eon found himself answering their questions almost involuntarily. When they asked how he perceived time, he explained the flow of temporal streams. When they wondered about his energy source, he described the cosmic background radiation that sustained him. Each answer only generated more questions. "This is wrong," he told the assembled Divine Council during their nightly communication. "They should be building temples, not laboratories. They should be seeking divine guidance, not trying to reverse engineer my abilities." "We warned you," replied Zethkar sadly. "Humans don't worship power, they study it until they understand it better than its original wielder." Meanwhile, Dr. Chun was making breakthrough after breakthrough. Her team had identified the quantum signatures of Eon's temporal manipulation, created mathematical models describing his multidimensional existence, and developed preliminary theories about how to replicate his abilities. "You're making me irrelevant," Eon accused during one of their sessions. "I'm making you understood," Sarah corrected. "There's a difference. Once we understand how something works, we can appreciate it more fully, improve upon it, and share it with everyone. I don't want to be understood. I want to be worshipped." Sarah looked at him with genuine confusion. "Why? What's the point of worship if it doesn't lead to understanding? If people just follow blindly, how do they grow? How do they become better?" The question hit Eon like a cosmic thunderbolt. In all his eons of existence, ruling over 17 species, he had never considered that worship might be a limitation rather than a validation of power. Desperate to reassert his divinity, Eon decided on a demonstration that would surely inspire proper awe. He would stop time across an entire city, showing these humans that some powers were beyond their comprehension. At precisely noon, Geneva stopped. Every clock, every heartbeat, every falling leaf froze in perfect temporal suspension. Eon stood in the center of the city, his form blazing with divine energy, waiting for the humans to recognize his ultimate power. Within minutes, they had equipment scanning the phenomenon. Within hours, they had set up a temporary research station. Within days, they were publishing papers on the practical applications of localized time manipulation. The field extends approximately 50 kilometers in all directions. Dr. Chun reported to the hastily convened International Temporal Research Committee. "The quantum signatures match our theoretical models, but the precision is extraordinary. If we can replicate this effect even partially, the medical applications alone could save millions of lives." Could save millions of lives? Eon materialized. Beside her, his divine composure cracking. "This is a demonstration of ultimate power." "It's a demonstration of advanced technology," Sarah replied patiently. "Really impressive advanced technology. We're particularly interested in how you maintain quantum coherence across such a large area without cascade decoherence." Eon realized, with growing horror, that she was right. What he had considered in display of godlike power, they had analyzed as an engineering problem, and they were solving it. "You're not gods," he said, his voice carrying newfound understanding and terror. "You're something worse. You're students." 3 months after Eon's arrival on Earth, the Divine Council received his final report. The Timeless One, master of the cosmic clock, shepherd of 17 species, had been reduced to serving as a temporal consultant for human research projects. "They didn't conquer me," Eon reported, his form flickering with exhaustion and something resembling embarrassment. "They didn't reject me. They didn't even try to replace me. They just understood me better than I understood myself." The council listened in growing horror as Eon described how Dr. Chun's team had not only replicated his temporal manipulation abilities, but had improved upon them. Their artificial time dilation devices were more precise, more efficient, and more stable than his natural abilities. "They offered to help me understand my own powers better," Eon continued. "I thought I was humoring them. Now I think they understand time better than I do." High Priest Carthel's void-touched form shuddered. "What do you mean?" "They've identified inefficiencies in my temporal manipulation. design flaws in my multidimensional existence. They want to help me upgrade my consciousness to operate more effectively across time streams. Eon's voice carried the weight of cosmic defeat. They're trying to debug a god. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Chun was putting the finishing touches on her latest paper, Practical Applications of Divine Consciousness in Quantum Computing. She remained blissfully unaware that her research had just convinced several gods to consider early retirement. The paper described how consciousness patterns similar to Eon's could be integrated into quantum computing systems, allowing computers to process information across multiple time streams simultaneously. The implications for human advancement were staggering. The Divine Council must act, declared Zethkar, his ethereal form stabilizing with new resolve. Not to protect humanity from us, but to protect us from them. What do you propose? Asked Commander Vextuth. Total quarantine. Earth becomes a divine exclusion zone. No god, deity, or cosmic entity makes contact with humanity. We establish a perimeter at the edge of their solar system and ensure they remain contained. And if they develop faster than light travel? Asked Meridian of the Void Depths. They already have, Eon replied quietly. They reverse-engineered it from the Star-Touch technology. Their ships are actually more efficient than most divine vessels. The Council fell silent. The implications were staggering. If humans could improve upon divine technology, what would happen when they encountered the greater cosmos? We need to warn everyone, Zethkar said finally. Every species, every divine being, every cosmic entity. Humanity must be treated as a galactic-level threat. A threat? Questioned Isara. They haven't attacked anyone. They've done something worse, Zethkar replied. They've made gods obsolete. They don't destroy divinity, they evolve beyond it. They take what we offer, understand it better than we do, and then improve upon it until we're no longer necessary. The warning that would echo across the galaxy was crafted that day. Pray the gods never anger the humans. Not because humans were vindictive or violent, but because they had the most terrifying weapon in the universe, the ability to understand anything and the irrepressible urge to make it better. As the Divine Council dispersed to spread their warning, Dr. Chun was already working on her next project, Quantum Consciousness Transfer, Lessons from Temporal Entities. Her research promised to allow humans to upload their consciousness into quantum computers, effectively making them immortal and capable of existing across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The age of gods was ending. The age of humans understanding everything including themselves was just beginning. And somewhere in the cosmic background radiation, the universe itself seemed to whisper, "They're going to figure me out next." The end, in the final analysis, humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, their courage, or their unity. It was their fundamental inability to leave well enough alone.